Good evening, I am Nisha Charles.
And I am Desmond Joseph.
And we are your presenters for today. Thank you for joining us for SAT TV News. Among the major developments, the Dominica Grammar School grounds needs to be made usable for students.
ECCO for music rights scores major victory against a concert promoter in Grenada.
HSBC to pay $1.9 billion in U.S. money laundering penalties.
And in sports, Neubeck secures District Sports Festival Championship.
Details of these and other stories after the break. Thank you for staying with us. Now for the details of the news. The government of Dominica says it is committed to meeting the needs of the public service. This comes after an award ceremony that was held for excellence in the public service last Friday. Acting Prime Minister Dr. Colin McIntyre says it is not always possible to provide the public service with all the resources it needs. He assures them that every effort to agree on the best policy is being made.
Taking into consideration the global socio-economic challenges that are impacting small developing countries like ours, regrettably, these factors erodes government's ability to meet all of your expectations in time and manner requested. However, we continue to value your talents, interests, and contributions because you are part of Dominica's economic resource.
He says no country progresses without a contribution of a competent and innovative workforce. In celebrating Public Service Day, they attempt to capitalize on motivating the public service members into producing their best work.
As the global economic systems was being transformed before us, particularly in the last 3 decades, it was imperative that government restructure and re-engineer public sector operations, processes, procedures, and ultimately its strategic objectives. It was and still is a period of great change, high risk, and uncertainty. However, such traumatic periods also provide government institutions and individuals with opportunities to make paradigm shifts to achieve high success levels in this changing environment.
In 2009, the ICT unit was introduced to coordinate work for the provisions for technological platforms needed to facilitate public sector transformation and modernization. The unit is also responsible for ICT training for the public service.
This trust in human resource development serves to increase the morale and motivation of public officers, which are necessary to achieve greater levels of productivity and functional effectiveness. In various times, criticisms are leveled at the public service for poor quality of service, and while it is acceptable that improvements are needed in some areas, I believe that it is not a sentiment that should be generalized across the public service.
He hopes that the exemplary qualities of the awardees for excellence in the public service will be replicated and sustained.
And in more news, in an effort to aid underprivileged students of the Newtown Primary School and children in the community of Newtown, the Parents Teachers Association PTA has taken up the fundraising idea in the form of a raffle. This is just one of the many fundraising efforts the school will be taking on, as the proceeds will also go towards buying items for the school. President of the Newtown School PTA, Mr. Andy Neubeck, says normally a barbecue would be done, but as he is a goldsmith, he decided that something better can be done.
I'm going to donate a gold chain, and then we'll see if we cannot find some other sponsors. It happened so that Lime came on board with a telephone and some top-up, and the PTA picked up the third prize, about $50 cash there. As the owner of the Coconut Express Jewelry Company, it's relatively easy for me to donate this chain. I'm making it. It's a handmade chain, yeah, 14 karat, 20-inch long.
Mr. Neubeck said he added the handmade gold chain as a first prize, as he is of the view that it will be attractive enough to attract many people to take part in the raffle. He pointed out some of the cash raised will go towards stationery, school trips, and school uniforms for children's parents who cannot afford.
Well, there is always the equipment problems. One of the things that all the teachers are talking to me about is that they have to raise the money for paper, for one thing. Yeah, like for tests, any of the projects that the teacher is giving to children that are written down on paper, they have to buy the paper themselves, because although the ministry sponsors a certain amount of this equipment, they don't give us all what we need. So that's one of the reasons why the Newtown Primary needs a little extra help.
The president of the PTA stated that the ministry is helping, however, additional funding for the operation and other expenses of the school are needed, for their needs to be taken care of since the ministry's resources are spread with the various government schools. He said it is also good when people can help themselves, which is exactly what they are doing, instead of solely depending on the government. Mr. Neubeck says raffles tickets can be obtained at the Newtown Primary School, at the gas station in Newtown, from teachers of the school, at his Coconut Express jewelry shop located in Roseau across from Dominica.
Everybody was in school at some point in time. Most of us have children in school. When you think of it in that sense, make sure you help. Children need our help. Remember, we're the big people. Children need all kinds of things from school to home. So if we can help the school out a little bit, make people aware of the fact, if they can put the $5, it will go a long way.
Tickets cost only $5 and the draw will take place on Friday, December 21st, and the winners will be contacted. And in more news, addressing the 2012 Christmas gathering of the Dominican Council on Aging Inc. on Sunday, December 9th, Member of Parliament for Roseau Central, Honorable Novice Privo, called on caregivers, children, and all those who give help to the aged to respect the human dignity of the elderly.
I could see that the Council on Aging is really uplifting our Dominicans, especially our elderly. And I would like to call on all caregivers and on government and on all those who provide, whether it's care or material things or psychological support for our elders, to really respect their human dignity. You know, I have noticed that especially with our GIS, what is being done for the elderly, whenever something is done for them, it's on the television over and over and over again.
Mr. Privo says that the elderly have worked hard throughout their lives for family, for community, and for the country. He believes that they have earned their right to be looked after in their late years.
They deserve to be cared for in their later years. It's a right they have earned. So I would like to call on all of us, whether NGO or government, to treat the elderly with more respect for their human dignity whenever we provide a service for them. I also want to say to our young people that there's a lot that we can learn from the experiences of our elderly and from their values, from their honesty, their hard work, and their industriousness. And I'd really like to ask our young people to pay that respect to them and to learn from their wisdom.
Mr. Privo quoted a biblical reading in his address for the reflection.
Let me not be put to shame. Let me not be put to shame. And as you reflect on this, I believe this is a gift that elderly people can ask of their children, of their grandchildren. And that gift, let me, your elder, not be put to shame. So in other words, whatever you do or say, please try not to make your elders be ashamed, or as they say in local parlance, do not put water in their eyes.
Mr. Privo says simply, the elderly deserve the care, the love, and the material support, and we owe it to them.
And with the calypso season set to begin as Christmas ends, some Calypsonians are busy putting the final touches to their songs, while others are still in the writing process. However, one Calypsonian says he's ready for the 2013 Calypso season, as he released what some may say is a controversial but necessary song. Narrin Murphy, better known as Trendsetter, says that he always wanted to get involved in Calypso, but thought it was for more grown people until one day he tried it out as a joke and has been hooked since.
Well, you know, this is Narrin Murphy, better known as Trendsetter in the Calypso arena. 2013, I'll be bringing out a song called Espoir Malpapai. It's an old Creole saying which really means there's no hope in a male puppetry. You can't get a male puppetry to be anything for you. So we'll be using that old time saying and bringing it into a local setting based on trees we refer to as male puppetry that are not bearing nothing for the country.
Mr. Murphy says the inspiration for this song came about as he is a jovial Calypsonian who like wit and satire, and when he works with renowned Calypsonian writer Mr. Pat Aaron, the creative thinking is always at a high. He says Mr. Aaron gave him a popular song, Judge Judy, for the 2012 Calypso season, and this time around his new song is expected to do just as good or even better for 2013.
From the time he gave me this song, I keep practicing. Then I went to Dada Studio up in Kenfield. That's where I have done the bulk of my recording after, say, from 2011, from Ready Made Jacket. It has been at Dada. Before that, it used to be at other places, De Young. But Dada did the groundwork, the basic bit, and then he gave it to me, and then I start practicing on the bit, and then I'm here right now, ready to release the real thing for the Dominica Calypso population.
The Calypsonian pointed out that his writer, Mr. Pat Aaron, got the idea for the song on the Farmers Radio program, which featured farmers Mr. Whitner Louis, Mr. Fenton Telemac, and Mr. Randy Aaron. He says these farmers have been instrumental in the song's birth through their cries. He stated that farmers and the agricultural industry have been left behind and they are not getting the necessary support they need. He says it seems that the government is made up of male pawpaw trees, which does not produce any fruit. Mr. Murphy pointed out that before Calypso was straightforward, but now he brings an excitement and creativity to the Calypso arena that was missing and is much needed, so all who attend can enjoy themselves, from children, adolescents, and the grown folks.
Well, yeah, I mean, with everything, your long-term goal and objective is to one day be the monarch. And at some point, I mean, as this gentleman on DBS, Curtis Matthew, he said, you know, this guy, at some point, one day, he's going to be monarch. And I'm going to prove him right at some point, you understand?
He says although he has not heard the completion of the song as yet, he's putting 100% effort to ensure he makes it to the finals, especially as he's quite comfortable with the material he was given this year. Mr. Murphy stated Dominicans should look out for him with his new song, which will not die. He says it is one that can play long after the Calypso and Carnival season has passed. Take a listen to a preview of his new song entitled Espoir Malpapai.
West Indies first cricket game in Dominica. TPM was in the commentary booth, telling the commentators he's a farmer. Technically, he was telling the truth, cause he planting trees in the ministry, in a government position history. Not even the great farmer Mr. Louis ever plant so much of one kind of tree. And to add insult to injury, all the tree is male pawpaw tree. A male pawpaw tree in the agriculture ministry.
Trendsetter is known for songs such as Ready Made Jacket, Judge Judy, and now Espoir Malpapai.
And in more news, according to the parliamentary representative for Roseau Central, Mr. Norris Prevost, the construction of the Dominica Grammar School stopped in 2004. Mr. Prevost says he brought up a question to the Minister of Education in regards to the conditions of the school grounds. However, he was appalled by the minister's response.
Here's the minister's response. Madam Speaker, and I'm quoting and reading his exact response. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform this Honourable House that the Dominica Grammar School grounds were levelled in summer of 2010. I still see the big mounds in the grounds. At the beginning of this school year, the grounds were cleaned and continue to be maintained on a regular basis. I also wish to inform this Honourable House that there is no rubbish on the grounds.
Once again, Mr. Priver continues to make an appeal to have the school grounds upgraded.
Upgrade it, grade it properly, remove those piles, mounds in the yard, remove the stones. That empty container which you see has been there for the past 7 years. Have it removed and make the grounds welcoming, usable, pleasant for the students to recreate.
Mr. Priver also congratulated the Dominica Amateur Athletic Associations on the award ceremony which was held on Saturday, December 8th. He believes that Dominica should be striving for their first gold medal in the Olympics, which is to be held in Brazil in 2016.
I made this call 4 years ago, and I am heartened by the performance I saw for our young Miss Luan Gabriel in London. I am heartened by the performance of our Mr. Erickson Ito. And I want to really encourage our officials, our coaches, our government, our athletes to do everything to ensure that 2016 is gold for Dominica in Brazil. Let's face it, from 2008 to now, Jamaica's Usain Bolt has again won the gold in the 100 meters and the 200 meters.
Mr. Priver says by 2016 it will be 20 years since Dominica entered the Olympics, and he believes that it is time for Dominica to win its first Olympic gold medal.
And in more news, Dominica has joined the rest of the world in observing International Mountain Day on Tuesday, December 11th, 2012. International Mountain Day is an opportunity to create awareness about the importance of mountains to life, to highlight the opportunities and constraints in mountain development, and to build partnerships that will bring positive change to the world's mountains and highlands. Mountains are crucial to life, and whether we live at sea level or at the highest elevations, we are connected to mountains and affected by them in more ways than we can imagine. Mountain biodiversity plays a key role in the support of global environmental, economic, social and cultural sectors through connections to a rich variety of plants and animals, air pollution, climate change, mining, hydropower, tourism, forest and agriculture. Therefore, the challenge is to sustainably manage mountain regions to avoid degradation and avoid subsequent increases in poverty and hunger. Our indigenous people, the Kalinago, named the island Waitugubuli, meaning tall is her body. Dominican's mountains soar to nearly 5,000 feet, their slopes thickly forested and beautifully crowned with rainforest and elfin woodland. Our volcanic mountains have enabled us to offer very valuable products which help boost our tourism industry. Our bubbling hot springs, which have given rise to numerous sulfur spring baths in the calm surrounding of the rainforest, offer relaxing and therapeutic experiences. The Monte National Park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, boasts of the second largest boiling lake, as well as freshwater lakes, cool rivers, and spectacular waterfalls. This year, the day is celebrated under the theme, Celebrating Mountain Life, which strives to achieve a stronger engagement of persons and the civil society in sustainable mountain development. It is also a concrete opportunity to mobilize resources to improve the livelihood of mountain communities, and special attention will be given to the involvement of youth in global sustainable development. And on Sunday, December 9th, at about 10 a.m., members of the Drug Squad and Task Force conducted an anti-drug operation in Massac. During the operation, vehicle registration number PR466 was being intercepted when it attempted to escape and posed a danger to the task force vehicle. The tires of the vehicle were deflated by gunshots, causing the vehicle to stop. The driver, who was the only male occupant of the vehicle, was taken into custody, and 7 kilograms of alleged cocaine was found and seized. The vehicle has also been seized. Investigations are continuing. In related news, on the 10th of December 2012, about 3 a.m., a joint operation between the Coast Guard and members of the drug squad led to the seizure of 70 kilograms of alleged cocaine several miles off the west coast of Dominica. 3 Dominican nationals and 1 Colombian national are presently in police custody and are assisting with investigations. 1 open keel boat powered by a 2x200 horsepower engine has also been seized. And the 5-day coaching course was held by the Dominica Football Association, the DFA, and the Olympic Solidarity Academies, and on Sunday, December 9th, held its closing ceremony. President of the DFA, Mr. Glen Ettienne, stated that if the long hours they have put into this course is an indication of what happens at the academies, he is certain that the future of Dominica's football is in good hands.
The effort that you have put in is what we are looking for in all our coaches. Infects others with your work ethics. Your newfound knowledge must now be put to good use. Use the skill and competencies to improve the level of football played here. You can do this by doing your little portion when you go back to your academies, clubs and teams. There should be a marked difference in the manner in which you conduct your session.
He advised them that there should be a professional approach to their coaching and they must aim to give their best to those under their care. He says as a coach, they should not settle for mediocre or below standard performance. They must set goals and always work towards achieving them.
In order to achieve those goals, you must instill in your players a culture of discipline, a culture of high performance, and a culture of always willing to give up the best. However, if you are to succeed, you must be a good role model. You must not give your players the slightest indication that you are not serious. You must always be willing to listen to your players and to offer advice accordingly, as this is the hallmark of any good coach.
Course instructor Mr. Kenton Jhonson says if they do not practice what they have learned, then the knowledge would only stay there and they will not grow. It can only grow by them going to the pitch and working with the grassroots programs. Only then will they progress be seen from what they have learned.
Someday, remember guys, the person that gives will never have what? Empty hands. The person that gives will always receive. So I will tell you guys that try give and don't expect much. Try give and you will receive a lot. Sooner or later, guys, I know that you guys have the knowledge, you have the circumstances that you can help, you have your kids. And remember, guys, you're not working for yourself. You're working for the kids of Dominica.
The participants receive certificates for completing the course. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.